So it's that time of year again. With the end of one season comes the beginning of the next. And if you've been following along on my channel, since back in the fall, I started doing a collaborative video idea with my moderators. I have 3 moderators on my YouTube channel. I have Mo, Hamzat, and Newt. And what they do is they decided they were going to give me their top 5 designer and top 5 niche fragrances for that season. I was going to do a collaborative video and then go through, talk about the fragrances, each list, and then rank them at the end and let you guys know which list I like the best. And then at the end of doing the designer and then the niche video, I then will do my own top 5 designers from that season and top 5 niche from that season as well. And so we are getting into it. We started that in fall, then we went into winter, did their winters. If you want to check that out, go ahead. And now we are moving into spring. Even though this spring, at least where I live, it was really not a spring. It was like the end of winter, like 2 weeks of spring, and now we're right into summer. But got to do the spring list. And so now they gave me their top 5 designer spring fragrances, and we're going to take a look at them. So without further ado, let's get it. What's good, my great smelling dudes? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Randy, aka Fragrance Dude. Thank you guys so much for joining me for yet another moderator video where I'm taking a look at my moderators selections for the spring. Again, this is going to be the designer one. We will have a niche one coming up next week, and then I will do my own. And I understand it's like getting into summer now. Summer is almost completely here, at least where I live. But before we get into the video, if you haven't already and you like my content, make sure to subscribe. Everybody on their way in, hit the like button, and then also comment below. Let me know some of your favorite spring fragrances. Also, let me know who you think won from this. So again, we have Mo, Rob, and Newt, or Mo, Hamzat, and Newt, and they gave me their 5 designer spring fragrances. And I gotta say, spring is the hardest one to pick. There's a lot of good designer discontinued fragrances, but it's definitely the hardest season because a lot of fragrances can be construed as spring depending on where you live, all that good stuff. And the green fragrances are few and far between unless you have like a massive collection. Anyway, so I'm going to quit talking. We're going to get straight into it. We're going to start with Mo. I know last time Newt won, the time before that Mo won. The time before that, Hamzat won twice in a row. So the first one on Mo's list, so he did give me one. It was a Tom Ford, but it was a private blend. And then also Hamzat gave me 2 Louis Vuittons for the designers, which we decided, even though the actual definition of niche versus designer, the designer is any company that sells fragrances and other things like shirts and clothing and pretty much anything, watches, any jewelry. And niche is just those who focus straight on fragrances. And then there's the private blends of designers, which are considered niche. So we decided that anything over $200 was going to be considered niche in this case. So we decided to remove the Tom Ford and the Louis Vuitton and replace it with something. But anyway, the first one on Mo's list is Banana Republic's Linen Vetiver. Banana Republic Linen Vetiver. If you've ever smelled vintage green from them, all of their fragrances you can find at Burlington for sub $25. I got mine for like $19. I know I bought Newt his, and I know this bottle is going to be repeated. But Mo said that he likes to layer this with vintage green. Basically, this is going to be that nice green, grassy, but also has a bit of sweetness and depth behind it. It's a little bit fresher than vintage green and doesn't have as much of that fruitiness to it. This is more going to be along the lines of that green, grassy vetiver mixture that you bring in, have a bit of a sweetness to it. It's a very, very nice green fragrance that, I mean, honestly, for the price, you really can't beat it. The quality is there. It only lasts about 4 to 5 hours, but for this type of spring fragrance, it's all you really need. Linen Vetiver is up there with one of my favorite. It might be in my top 5 between that and vintage green. I like the vintage green, the fig that comes with that, though, but the Vetiver in this really does take a nice precedence over that fig that's in the vintage green. So I think I might actually like this one better. A little bit more masculine than the vintage green, which is definitely straight unisex. But if you've tried vintage green, then you should like this. Also grasslands, they're all in that same realm. They all have that same type of oil because they're using the same type of grassy oil. But it's just the Vetiver's a little bit cleaner in this one. Has a little bit of a almost citrusy top to it, but really nice green grassy Vetiver scent. Really nice. If you ever tried it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Going into this next one. This one definitely is going to be on my list. I mean, it's a very obvious choice, especially with designers. When you think of designers, and if you tried this fragrance out, it's probably on your list too. It's Chanel's Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, better known as Cashy. This fragrance, I mean, it's the most versatile freshie out there. It's a signature worthy scent. It's one of the best out there. If you haven't tried it, then you need to get your nose on it. While the prices have been skyrocketing and Chanel's really don't ever get discounted, Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, it takes that Allure Homme Sport DNA, that kind of aromatic sweetness that you get with it, and then it takes that, has a little bit of mintiness, and then it amps up the vanilla. You just get a bunch of vanilla thrown in with the Allure Homme DNA, and it just gets it a bit sweeter, but also has a bit more of a freshness than what you get with the original Allure Homme. Not sure how the vanilla works in with that, but it's a bit more creamy. The vanilla is just super, super high quality. Very, very, very nice, fresh, versatile, just absolutely amazing creamy scent. It has a nice woodiness in the base there too, but it's a fresh, vanilla aromatic fragrance. Very, very nice. Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme is one of my favorite fragrances. Always will be one of the 10 fragrances I would keep if I had to only have a collection of 10 fragrances. If you guys want me to do a video about that, let me know. Going into number 3. So this one was one of the first fragrances I had in my collection when I started thinking about becoming a reviewer. I had about 20 some fragrances at that point in time, and then I pulled the trigger on this because it had an engravable bottle, which I really enjoyed. But I got the fragrance in, and I realized that after wearing it for about 6 months, it gives me a headache, but it does smell great. It's one of the most versatile signature scents out there. YSL Y Eau de Parfum. See, I have my initials right there. Really cool. Some of the other bottles that I have engraved, like the Valentinos, it's like they engraved the plastic cap. It doesn't make any sense, but I like how they actually etched the bottle with like a laser etch. Really nice. But this takes that original DNA, takes away a little bit of the aldehydes, amps up the apple, makes it a lot sweeter, makes it a lot more just, it's one of the heaviest pushers of any blue fragrance in the designer fragrance community. This fragrance is going to be beast mode. I mean, I know it's not going to be Sauvage Elixir beast mode, but when you think of like the original blue fragrances, this is the strongest of all of them. Of all of the Dior Sauvages outside of Elixir, out of all of the Bleu de Chanel's, this one pushes out the most. It lasts 10 plus hours. It's going to be a well above average projector for about 5 to 6 hours. That's why it gives me a headache. But it's apple, it's aromatic, it's that clary sage geranium mixture that you get from the line. You do get a bit of the woodiness, a bit of the spiciness, and a slight touch of the aldehydes that you get from the original. It obviously has a bit, and I mean a bit of the tonka bean that you get in the Le Parfum, but I mean that's neither here or there. This is going to be your fruity, citrus, just really heavy aromatic fragrance. Really, really nice. Again, that apple is just amped to 1,000. And I think that's what's the part of the fragrance that gives me a headache is the apple. But it smells really nice. It's just, again, too strong for me. And my wife said the same thing's too strong for her. But I know a lot of people love that fragrance, so don't blame him for putting that on the list. Going to the next one, it's one that I do not have a bottle of. I only tried it like 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago whenever Mo sent me a decant of it, and I do enjoy the fragrance. Not sure if I'm going to pick up a full bottle of it or not. I need to revisit it as I've only smelled it once. It is Narciso Rodriguez Bleu Noir Parfum. I know it is the best of the three. I tried the other two, and I do have to say the Parfum is the best of the three. Very easy blue fragrance. I know it's iris. It's an iris blue. So if you liked like business over pleasure and stuff like that, you'd probably like this. I just don't remember much else about it, so I don't have much else to talk about. I will put the notes up on the screen so you can see what they are. And then I'll give you a second to look at those. But Narciso Rodriguez Bleu Noir Parfum. I remember when I was on a live stream, I did a review, not a review, but like a first impression of it. And I remember I gave it like an 8.5. So, I mean, that's a well above average fragrance. It's just, again, I haven't worn it since because I've had so many other fragrances that were sent to me that I forgot that I even had a decant until right now. Anyway, going into his last one. So again, this is where that Tom Ford came in that we decided to scrap from the list. And this was his runner-up. So I decided to just stick it in the place because he hasn't responded to me and I was doing my video. But it is Versace Eros Flame. This was his runner-up, or honorable mention is I would think the word that he used. And honestly, this is my favorite Versace Eros. I don't really like the other Versace Eroses. That minty vanilla, that it's just a bit too powdery for me. I'm not sure why. I'm not a huge fan of it. But I do like this. When they incorporated that DNA and then added, downplayed the powderiness and added in that nice blood orange and spice, that is where it really took a stride for me. It's the only one that's discontinued now, though. And I'm really hoping that they do something because there's blood orange in the brand new one, Versace Eros Energy. I'm hoping that they do like a fresher take on this style of DNA, which would be really nice because this was my favorite one from the line. So I can see why it was in his top 6. Again, the Tom Ford, I don't want to say what it was just in case he decides to switch that to his niche list. But again, private blends, most people consider them niche, so I'm not putting that on this video. Versace Eros Flame, really nice, lasts about 7 hours. Again, it's blood orange, it's spicy, it's warm, but it has a nice little bit of freshness from the blood orange that allows it to be worn in the spring. So definitely a good choice, Versace Eros Flame. Well, I would put that more in like a fall video. I can understand why it would be in spring too, because fall, spring, similar temperatures. So that was Mo. So again, Linen Vetiver, layer with vintage green if you can. Kashi, YSL Y EDP, Bleu Noir Parfum, and Eros Flame. Great choices, Mo. Really do appreciate you sending them to me. And then again, next week we'll get into the niche list, which he has already sent me as well. But that gives him a week to update that Tom Ford if he wants. The next one is Newt. So the first one on his list, I'll just throw that out the window because I don't have a bottle of that either. It is John Varvatos Artisan Blue. I have tried it. I am not a fan of Artisan Blue. It's fine. I just prefer Artisan Teal. I like the new XX Intense, the original XX. It's just, I even got the new Artisan Pure or whatever it was called. I liked all of those ones. Artisan Blue is just, it didn't do anything for me. I could revisit it. It was only a decant, but it wasn't anything for me that just went like, wow, I need to have this fragrance. But for him, it was. I don't remember what it smells like because it's been a while, but maybe I'll revisit it at some point. Maybe I'll like it. Who knows? The next one on his list is one we've already mentioned. It is Banana Republic's Linen Vetiver. I knew it was going to be on his list. It's really hard to find now unless you have a Burlington that has it. And I promised him I would get a bottle if it was at my Burlington, and then they sold out, and then I felt bad. And then like 3 months later, right when I got home from vacation, I walked into my Burlington to get a shirt, and I saw Linen Vetiver, so I bought it and shipped it to him. So you're welcome, Newt. I'm glad I was able to get one of your top 5 spring fragrances for you. But Linen Vetiver, I'm not going to go over what it is again. Obviously, you guys know. The next one on his list, this one is one of my wife's new favorites. It is Polo Cologne Intense. Polo Cologne Intense is a drawback to the original Polo Green, but modernized. It has that vintage herbaceous feeling to it. But what is really nice is that it has this masculine vintagey vibe to it. But it also has a little bit of sweetness that makes it more mass appealing and modern. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look at the notes, but I know there's going to be the basils, the rosemaries. There's going to be a little bit of this mintiness in it. Very, very nice herbaceous green fragrance. I never paid attention to what the sweetness was, so I didn't look up the notes. I would have to say that there's some kind of like either amber, vanilla, or tonka that's just providing this underlying sweetness, as well as maybe a bit of a fruity tone and some woods. But this fragrance is green, vintage, and slightly sweet, and almost like a touch fruity. I really, really enjoy this. This is going to be for your grown-up, older man that wants to wear something green, fresh, and clean. Has a bit of a spice to it. That is what this is. Great for the spring and summer. I only got this like 3 months ago because I just always thought it was super vintagey, and I thought it was Polo Green for the longest time. But it turns out that Polo Cologne Intense and Polo Green are not the same thing. And actually, Newt wrote Polo Green Intense, and I had to correct him. It's Polo Cologne Intense. It's actually not Polo Green. With that said, that is his number 3. Number 4 is one of my favorite fragrances of all time, Chanel's Allure Homme Edition Blanche. I've said this 1,000 times. If you haven't seen my videos, definitely go check them out. I have a full video for this. I have the whole Chanel line breakdown. Allure Homme Edition Blanche. It's a lemon cream pie in a bottle. Has sandalwood and musk underneath, but it starts out a lot of lemon. The vanilla and sandalwood creep in with this musky tone around the whole fragrance. As you get about 10 to 15 minutes, the lemon starts to dissipate and get replaced by that kind of creamy sandalwood vanilla mixture. And then they kind of just blend together and you get this lemon cream pie, vanilla, sandalwood, a little bit of a woodiness. And then you get that outside. So it's not like a full, like tart lemon cream pie. It's almost like if you took the tartness away from a lemon cream pie, that's what you get from this. Very, very nice, very beautiful fragrance. Still has that Allure Homme DNA in it. It's just kind of like if you took the Allure Homme DNA and smashed it together with a less tart lemon cream pie. That's what this is. One of the best fragrances, only lasts 3 to 4 hours, but I don't give a shit. And you should never worry about the performance because I like to spray 3 or 4 fragrances a day if I can. And with this one, it allows me to, or you can just respray it. It's almost gone. I just realized that right now. It sucks. And for me to go through a fragrance, a full fragrance that I got 2 years ago, that you know I like it. Going into the last one. This one was a surprise on his list. If you've ever tried out L'Homme Ideal Cologne, then you probably will like this one. This is the newer rendition of it by Guerlain. It is L'Homme Ideal Platine Prive. I'm actually wearing the original L'Homme Ideal today as my scent of the day. I just took a picture of it. I haven't worn that in 2 years. But L'Homme Ideal Platine Prive, I have this entire line outside of Cole. I just never got my hands on that one. And I finally got my hands on Sport. But picture L'Homme Ideal Cologne, that neroli citrus mixture. Add in almost this kind of like sweet tart fruity tone for the first half hour. Outside of that, it's L'Homme Ideal Cologne in a nutshell, just with a sweet tart fruitiness on top. Some people don't like that part of it. I love it. I think it's actually better than the cologne. You can tell me I'm wrong. I really don't care. But yeah, it is what it is. So that is L'Homme Ideal Cologne, or L'Homme Ideal Platine Prive. It actually lasts more than the cologne, which was about 4 to 5 hours. It still has the tonka, I forgot to tell you, it still has the tonka almond portion of it that the whole line has. It's just on top of that is the neroli and citrus. But it lasts about 6 hours. Going into that's the end of Newt. So Newt was Artisan Bleu, Linen Vetiver, Polo Cologne Intense, Edition Blanche by Chanel, and Platine Prive by Guerlain. Now going into the last person, Rob, aka Hamzat, starting out with one we've already talked about. This one is Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. I'm not going to go over and tell you guys what it is again. I just talked about it. Do a fucking rewind if you need to. But really, really nice. One of the most versatile freshies out there. Going into the next one, this is my signature scent of 2022. I wore it all 2022. I went through a full bottle already from the January 2021 until right now. And then I bought a new one, and this one's already a quarter of the way gone. Dior Homme Sport 2021. I wore it almost every single day, at least one time a day, all of 2022. And it is a citric aldehydic take, just like Dior Homme 2020 is that kind of woody aromatic that removes the iris from the Dior Homme line. We'll just pull that over and add a bunch of citruses and aldehydes and a bunch of pink pepper on top. That is what this fragrance is. It has that nice sweet and spicy overlay that you get from the pink pepper. and then you add in a bunch of those airy ozonic aldehydes, and then you have that citrus on top. It's just kind of like a sporty take on Dior Homme 2020. It's super nice. It's super classy. You can wear this dressed down, dressed up. It is a signature scent at its core, which actually spawned my video for tomorrow, which is going to be my top 10 signature designer fragrances. This is one of them. Let me just tell you guys that. But anyway, great pick for that. The next one, I mean, this had to be an obvious choice. But for me, I picked this as summer. And I think most people would pick it as summer, but Hamot is a horse of a different color. So let's just say that. Terre Eau Givree. I can see it being spring, so it's a spring and summer fragrance, but if I had to pick a season, this is a summer banger for me, so I would not put it in a spring list. Which, it doesn't matter. He has it on the list, so it's a great fragrance. It is that rinded citron mixed together with the Terre DNA, which is I usually don't like, but the way that they blend it together, that kind of mineralic quality that you get, or metallic quality that you get from it, and you blend that together with the rinded citron, it's just super effervescent. It is not for everybody. Women don't usually like it. I got this last year at the end of summer, and so I can't wait to start wearing into this. But Eau Givree is a very, very nice fragrance. It's just not for everybody, and it's not an everyday wear. I know for the people who are really heavy into fragrances, obviously it's a killer, but for the everyday average Joe, I haven't really gotten many like crazy good responses from it, so just an FYI on that. Going into the last two, I actually had to re-record this entire video because I didn't know what he wrote down. He put YSL Y L'Elixir, and I was like, which one, man? But it is YSL. It's the one I don't have a bottle of because I was going to buy a bottle from News Parfums, and then I decided to stop in Macy's one more time and try it out, and I decided that it is not something that I want to buy a bottle of yet. It is YSL Y L'Elixir, the newest one. It's a soap bomb. I still have my decant of it, but it only had like this much left, and I wasn't able to get a full amount of a wear, so I wanted to go into Macy's. I was already going there to get my glasses fixed, so I figured I'd spray it on. It is pretty much a soap bomb on top of the YSL Y DNA. As it gets to the dry down, you get a little bit of this incense and kind of resinous take on YSL Y Le Parfum, just again with that soap bomb on top of it. It's ginger, lavender, all mixed together. It comes off super soapy, and then it has a little bit of a richness and resinous tone as it gets to the dry down. Honestly, I was hoping for a lot more from the Elixir. I think that the Le Parfum is still by far the best fragrance in the line. I know some people would say the EDP, and I still think the most wearable is the EDT, and the Live is still my number two. But the Elixir, it still just came out, and because of that soap bomb, it's not as wearable. I thought from one of the big three blue lines that they were going to do something special, and while it is unique, it's a nice fragrance. I still would give it like an 8 out of 10. I just don't see a need to buy it at this point in time whenever I know I would rather wear the other ones in the line. But I am going to end up getting it at some point in time. I just need to make sure that I do a haul, like a fragrance haul from News Parfums, because their shipping is crazy. So I like to buy multiple fragrances at one time. And then he also, the last one on his list, is another one that I don't have that's brand new this year that I'm not a big fan of. It is Invictus Parfum. I've never been really any fan of any Invictus. I don't own any Invictuses. The only one that I liked the most was Victory, but even then, the lavender in that is a little bit too earthy on me, on my skin. My wife doesn't like it. I don't hate any of the other ones like Aqua, Legend. I think they all smell okay. And while out of all of them, I think the Parfum is probably the best. It's just a soapy take on a mixture of the rest of the line. It has that aquatic feel from Aqua. It has the bubblegum from the original. It has a little bit of that spiciness that you get in the Legend. Mix those all together, and then you have this soap on top. It's just like a bunch of soap on top of all three of those. And that's Invictus Parfum. So now we're at the point that we have to rank them. And sorry, Mo, but I am going to pull Mo out of the running for the top spot because YSL Y EDP gives me a headache. Eros Flame, I put in a fall list, not in a spring list, but I wouldn't have it in my top 5 either. And then Bleu Noir Parfum, again, I haven't tried it enough to know, so I have to pull Mo out of that. So sorry to Mo. And the last two are Nude and Hamot. And I'm pretty sure you guys already know who would win. It was pretty close because Hamot has Dior Homme Sport 2021, which was my signature. He has Kashi, Eau Givree. But the whole thing was all about whether it was YSL Y L'Elixir Parfum or Elixir. And because he chose Elixir, that together with the fact that Eau Givree for me is a summer fragrance and Invictus Parfum I'm not a huge fan of, I'm going to have to take him as second place and put Nude as the number one. While Artisan Bleu I'm not a huge fan of. Linen Vetiver is great. Cologne Intense is one of my wife's favorites. Edition Blanche is one of my favorites, one of my daughter's favorites, one of my wife's favorites. And Platine Prive is a great addition to the line. So, Nude, you would want, I think that's 2 in a row. I think that he's the one who won the one last time. So, anyway, that is my Moderators Designer fragrance top 5 for spring. Let me know in the comments some of your favorites. And again, next week we'll be back with their niche list. And then again, or maybe later this week, and then next week will also be mine, top 5 designer and top 5 niche. So let me know. And again, I'll be back with another one. Peace out.